Hey everyone, I'm Matt with Ozark Overland Adventures, and I get asked a lot about finding campsites and how to find campsites. Do I have recommendations for campsites in various areas? And you see this question get asked all the time in all the different Facebook groups and social media and forums and that sort of thing. And I think for those that are getting out, especially for the first time or are new at this overlanding thing, it's finding campsites that I think stresses people out probably more than anything. Because I mean, when you're going out in a remote destination, you want to have a good idea of where you're going to be sleeping each night. So Kara and I are actually meeting up with Brad and Regina from Trail Recon in 3 days down in southern New Mexico. And we are going to spend 4 full days exploring New Mexico together. And, so Brad's doing it on his end, I'm doing it on my end, but, I want to have a good idea of, options for us to stop and camp for the night, because we're going to start down in Carlsbad and just start traveling, kind of west, northwest, probably end up on the Arizona-New Mexico border over in the Gila National Forest. And then we'll see if we got 4 days. We're just going to go explore and have fun. So I wanted to walk you through my process for how I'm finding campsites and the tools that I'm using and some other tools that I'm not using, but I want you to be aware of them. First of all, there are some good websites and apps that you can use to find some. These are all crowdsourced, so people like you and I out and about and they find a great campsite, they can go into these apps and mark it as a campsite. Probably the best one is iOverlander. There is a website for it. There's also an app for your phone for it. Another one is Campendium. And there's a few more. Those are the two that I use the most. Let me show you real quickly on iOverlander. I haven't used it for this, but we're going to go down here in New Mexico, down to Carlsbad. I've got this filtered. You can go here to this place types, and so I've got established campground, because in a pinch, I want to know where the established campgrounds are. So if we're, maybe it's getting late, there's one nearby, paying $10, $15 for a campsite, that's not the end of the world. I have wild camping, which is what we want, the dispersed campsites. And then just so I know, because when you're, 4 days out exploring, water, replenishing your water may be a thing. So I've also got water selected on their menu. You've also got propane, fuel stops, dump stations, a bunch of different options here, but I've got these 3. And so I am just, I know this area here is, I think the Lincoln National Forest down south, west of Carlsbad. And you can see there's not a lot of options here in New Mexico, at least down in this area. So let me zoom in here. What we've got? We've got one official campground here on Queens Highway. Located on 540, close to highway, free primitive camping along the gravel road. Okay, that's cool. Over here we've got a Sitting Bull turnoff, small national forest picnic area, open desert views to cover picnic tables. Okay, it's a possibility. Then we've got out here, all right, now we're getting into some more remote stuff. Dirt road. You can camp off the road here. If you go up this dirt road, you can get Verizon. So the people who post these, give a description. Is there cell signal available? If so, what carrier? And some other details and that sort of stuff. So this is a great resource to use for getting started. The problem with this is everybody has access to these campsites, and so the odds of you coming up on it and someone already being there are a lot higher than normal. So that's iOverlander. Another great resource is trails-offroad.com. It's a great resource to find trails, and it's also a great resource just to know where camping can be found. As you can see, there's not a lot of trail options that they have in New Mexico, so that's kind of a bummer. But just to give you an example, let's go up here to Colorado. Let's click on Cinnamon Pass here. And you get a full description of the trail information. And you see here, yeah, there's one image here of camping. And so you go down here, the highlights, it does have camping, there's ghost towns, so there is camping on this. And if I scroll down here to the camping tab, it says there is dispersed camping on this trail, and it is allowed, 14-day limit. There are some established campgrounds as well. So this is just a good general idea of, if there's, if they've found campsites along a trail and what type and that sort of thing. And occasionally they'll give you some sample images here. So iOverlander, trails-offroad.com. But again, those are readily available. What I want to show you how to do is look over your route. And this does require you to kind of pre-plan your route, which you should be doing anyway. But go over your route. I'm using Gaia GPS and their Gaia Overland layer as my base map. I'll show you why I love that so much here in just a minute. And Google Maps satellite imagery, because let's face it, they've really got some of the best satellite imagery out there. And the motor vehicle use maps. If you are in a national forest, which is where, for the most part, that is where we will be. We will be traveling through some BLM land. We've got the Lincoln National Forest here. We've got, which one's this one? Also Lincoln National Forest here. Then we're going to zip over to the Gila National Forest. And there's some BLM land around here as well that we'll be traveling through. But for the most part, on this trip, it's national forest. And so always just Google the national forest that you're looking for and do, Gila National Forest camping. And I did that. It pulls up this website right here, the Gila National Forest dispersed camping rules. The majority of campgrounds on the Gila National Forest are primitive and offer dispersed camping. So there is dispersed camping allowed in the Gila National Forest. You may camp outside of developed campgrounds anywhere on the forest at no charge. That's awesome. That's awesome. So pretty much anywhere in the Gila National Forest, you can disperse camp. So that's a win. If you're traveling in national forest, always check with the motor vehicle use maps. Flipping over here to the motor vehicle use map, let's go over here to the legend. On the MVUM, it has this little key of the 2 dots on either side of the road or trail. Dispersed camping, game retrieval, both sides are allowed. You go down here to the description. This symbol is used along a designated road or trail to indicate limited cross-country motor vehicle use within a specific distance of that route, solely for the purpose of dispersed camping. The dots indicate where this is permitted. So you can camp anywhere in the Gila National Forest, but as far as taking your vehicle and driving it off the road, these are areas where you are allowed within a certain distance. I think it's 100 feet. I'm surprised it doesn't say in here, but it's not very far. But so once you're close to the trail, but say it's getting late and you're driving along and you're on a section of trail, let's just use, for example, this trail 14 here, and you're in this section and it's getting late, you're tired, you see a flat spot that maybe doesn't have an established fire ring already, it is fair game to pull off into that area and set up camp for the night. Now, preferably, that's only if you can't find anything else, at least in my opinion. I prefer to stay in an established, spot that already has a fire ring. I mean, you can tell, this spot's been used as a campsite before, because there's usually a clearing and there's a fire ring. It's not a designated campground, but it's one that people have already established. So that's what I like to do, and so that's what we're going to try to find. For this, I'm using 2 main resources for our route. One is the New Mexico BDR. We are going to be traveling a good portion of the New Mexico BDR on this trip. And the other is Lifestyle Overland's Enchanted Rockies Trail. And we are Patreon supporters of Lifestyle Overland. and that gives us access to all of their GPS data. So I have downloaded their New Mexico tracks. I've downloaded their New Mexico campsites, and that's for portions of the National Forest, especially down here in Lincoln. All these little waypoints down here are campsites that they've already identified, and they shared it with their Patreon supporters. I'm also a patron supporter of Venture Forward, Venture 4WD, Chris Shawns, and he has also explored this area. He also has marked campsites in this area, and so I've got those downloaded as well. And between those two resources, this section of the Lincoln National Forest, I've pretty much already got tons of options. I don't think we're going to be staying in here. I have a pretty good guess that on day one, we're going to be up here in this area, probably even over here in this area. So I think we're pretty covered for this spot. What I don't have is a lot of campsites up here in the Gila National Forest. Now, I've already been going through there and eyeballing some. And so let me move over to this section that I'm still working on and walk you through what it is that I'm doing. What I like to look for is all these little offshoot trails like this. If the little trail comes off of a main trail and ends in a dead end, there's a good possibility that there's going to be a campsite there. And so I've marked a couple here that I've found, and let's check out this one here. I can tell by the terrain it is up kind of on a peak, so maybe there's like a bluff line view there. But what I'm going to do is in Gaia GPS with their Overland layer and the MVUM overlay is what these tracks here are. That's the motor vehicle use overlay. I'll show you my layers tab here. I've got public lands turned on so I can see what type of land I'm in, and that's my layer setup. Gaia Overland feet's on the bottom. And so I'm just going to click right here at the end of this trail, and that's going to pull up this marked location with the GPS coordinates. All I have to do is click on these three dots and do copy coordinates. From there, I'm going to come over here to Google Maps, and I've got their satellite imagery selected. And so I'm just going to copy and paste those coordinates in there, and it's going to pull me over here. So here's that road. You can see it faintly here on the map. And I'm just going to zoom in. And so I see some silos, what looks like maybe some grain, some sort of silos or something there. So I'm not real sure about that. It does look like there's some sort of clearing here, which may or may not be suitable for camping. I can't really tell from here, but there's definitely a clearing there. And that looks like it could be a viable spot to camp. So I'm going to just drop a waypoint right there, drag that over to there. I'm going to say, name it possible camp, and save it. So as you can see, I've done that to some of these others. Here's that other one. I'll just click on it. Looks like there's maybe a little lake or something there. Sometimes you'll get the coordinates pop up depending on where it is that you click, and they'll be bigger like that. Still, just click on this, copy coordinates. And I'm gonna go here and paste those in. And so this trail comes down this hillside and ends in what New Mexico calls a tank. Looks like there may be some rocks there blocking access driving down. I can't really tell what that is, but I mean, definitely looks like a possible spot to camp. There's also a trail that comes off this way, comes into the trees. Can't really tell what that does. I don't see that trail continuing on the map, so I would have reservations about continuing down that trail and its legality, just because it doesn't continue here on the motor vehicle use map. It's not there, so I would steer clear of going down there. But this one, I mean, there's a little pond, a little lake down there, and looks like it could be a potential spot to camp. So let's continue on. I've already done this little area. Done this. Let's go over here and just start checking this stuff out. I'm just gonna follow along my route. So it's right here, this blue line coming down here. Here's, in this nearby area, there's some little offshoot trails. So if it's getting, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we're over here, I want to check these out because these would be real quick places to get to. So I'm going to click on that one and click copy the coordinates. Come over here, paste it. Let's see. All right, I can see on the satellite imagery, there's the trail. And looks like, all right, okay, so this is how great satellite imagery is. I'm not certain, but that to me on satellite imagery looks like a fire ring. Possibly one over here as well. So that looks like a very good potential spot to camp. So definitely going to mark it. And then I'll just go here. If it comes up with the big coordinates here, you can then just click on Save Waypoint, and it turns it to a waypoint marker. Change it to camping, and possible camp. Save it. On the Gaia Overland layer, there is this icon for spring. So, I mean, that might be a cool spot to camp. And it looks like there's at least used to be a spring nearby, one over here as well. Let's see if we can, I mean, based on the location, it's possible that may be what that is. I'm not sure. But there's another spring somewhere out in here. I can't see it. I'm not sure. It looks like maybe over here in this wash somewhere. But that'd be kind of cool to find a natural spring. Let's go check. There's a lot of springs in this area. Dang. Let's check out this one as well. Actually, there looks like there may be a little pond there. So let's click on that. And see, that did not bring up the larger icon there. Let me see if I click there. There we go. Maybe it's your proximity to the trail. So let's click there, copy the clipboard. Let's paste that in here. And that brings us over here. All right, so here's another tank. I guess a little reservoir pond thing that New Mexico calls tanks. And so the trail comes in here, goes around there. I'm not seeing signs of a fire ring. Looks like that may be some sort of clearing there in those trees. Let's keep following the road. Keep following the road. Let's see if we see anything obvious. Patch of snow. I'm not seeing anything obvious there. Let me see how far that curves back over there. So, but I think, here around this tank might be a good flat spot. Maybe here in these trees. I can't really tell, but it's a good possibility. So, I'm going to click there, or just pull my waypoint there, and change that to possible camp. Change my icon. And done. Now, over here, this little circle thingy looked interesting, Negrito Mountain. I want to see what that is, because there may be like an epic view or something up there. So click these 3 dots, copy coordinates. Let's see what that is. Okay, oh, that's got an old fire tower, some sort of fire tower. I don't know if it's old or not, but definitely a fire tower up there. I don't know if there'd be any rules on camping there or not, but I mean, that would be cool. So I'm not going to mark that as a possible camp, but I am going to mark that as a fire tower. So just put that there in the middle. Fire tower, because you know what fire towers have? Really good views. If you can, especially if you can get up there. And I'm going to go this binoculars here as a viewpoint and hit save. And so I've got that. And that might be a spot to check out for a camp as well. But that's pretty cool because we're going to be coming right down here. We could just zip over here and check that out. And then Burnt Cabin Spring. That one's actually got a name on it. So that would be cool. So let's look at that. Let's click on these dots, copy coordinates. Let's go see what that looks like, if there's anything there. So here's Burnt Cabin Tank. All right, this one is actually on Google Maps as well, so that may be something. The road comes down here. Looks like it comes up over here. It comes up north of the pond. Oh, there it is. There's the road. I don't see, anything obvious again. But quite possibly in these trees would be a good spot to camp. Especially down here in this low area. You got a potential water source here. So that might be a good spot. I'm gonna mark that as a possible camp because it's right off the main road. It'd be real quick to go down in there and check it out and not take much time. So and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep following along my route and seeing if I can find anything interesting. And so lots of offshoot trails here. This one, ooh, that's kind of bluff liney, based on the terrain there. Let's check that out. That's not right. Maybe I didn't copy it. Oh, there we go. I didn't copy it. Oh, okay, man. It'd be fantastic if we had snow next week. But because of the snow, I can't see squat. That's a bummer. Yep, I can't see really anything there because of the snow on the ground. Okay, so that's kind of a bust. Let me go ahead and say this now. This video should be coming out before the videos of our trip. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and then follow along and see, if we actually found any of these campsites or stayed in any of these campsites that I've marked here. All right, now we're going to come up here. A bunch of these little offshoot trails all may be worthwhile. That one ends in I'm guessing that's another tank. This one ends here in this little ravine thing. That could be interesting. Let's go there. I want to check that out. All right, the road is not well traveled on Google. It was right here in this curve. So if there's not a well-traveled road, then there's probably not going to be a well-traveled campsite in there. So I would assume that's probably pretty rough and rocky through there. So not a good place to camp. This Red Bull Canyon, this bluff line here on Red Bull Canyon, that may have some good options. So let's go check that out. Okay. All right, there's the road. So I can follow it along. Not seeing anything obvious. Let's see, what's that? Oh, that looks like it may be a good clearing there. And what you can do, so if you find something on Google satellite imagery, you can reverse that process to get that same location in Gaia GPS. So I clicked here in that clearing, and down here, I'm just gonna drag and copy that. And now I'm gonna go to Gaia, and here in the search bar here, put that in, click on it, and okay, I wasn't too far from where I was. And then I'm gonna do save waypoint and possible camp. Now, ideally, as we're traveling along, I want to verify these. I don't think I'm going to, for obvious reasons. We may, just depending on what's going on, if it's maybe lunchtime, we'll be like, oh, hey, let's go see if this campsite's up here, and see if it's valid, and if not, we'll move on. But yeah, so I would very much like to validate a lot of these, because next time we're back in this area, I can know for ones that exist. I can mark them. All these right now, this is just my color coding. I'm marking in red as a possibility. If I validate that it's a real campsite and it's a good one, I will come in here and click edit, and I'll change it to purple, just because I like purple. And so that's my personal color coding. Let's go down here to the end of this road and see what's down there in the Googles. Oh, there it goes. So this drops down. Ooh, that looks like a nice big clearing right here on the stream. Ooh, that looks pretty. That looks real good. I'm gonna definitely mark that because I like the way that looks. So drop a pin, come over here. Possible camp. Now, one of the things I love about the Gaia Overland layer, and let me see if I can find one, is it's just got some hidden gems. There are no maps, be it in Gaia, in Onyx, that are going to have the primitive campsites, all of them pre-marked, because they're primitive, they're dispersed, so it's not an official campground that obviously has a location established by the Forest Service or BLM or whatever. So you're not going to find a map that has campsites, except for some on the Gaia Overland layer. And let me go, I'm going to show you this little area that I found, because I found it yesterday. Yeah, this was one of them. So anytime you are in Gaia and you're scrolling along and you see this little tent icon, that's a dispersed campsite. So Bell Canyon Pit. And so I looked at that. So let's go look that up. And so that road comes down here, and I mean, yeah, you can tell that's a nice place to camp. There's multiple fire rings in here. It's, I mean, that looks like a really good spot. That would be high on my list. Then also, they also mark established campgrounds. Over here is this Wolf Hollow trailhead and campground. I'm pretty sure that's dispersed and free as well. But we were over here in this area. I was looking, and I just zoomed in on my route. This is actually a paved highway, but as I was scanning along, I found these two campsites here that were already marked. If you click on them, it just says campsite. Where they get this information is OpenStreetMaps is a resource where any of us can go in. If we find a campsite, we can add it to OpenStreetMap. That is where Gaia then pulls in all the data, they validate it, and they put it on their Overland layer, which is incredible. Let me show you what that one looked like on the satellite imagery. So, you know, if we're coming along and it's getting late, we are, you know, going down this paved Highway 59, 2-lane, and we just need a place to camp. We can zip down this road and, you know, boom, there's a spot. Looks like maybe there's an old structure there, which might be kind of cool. Up here, another clearing. Looks like a firing right there. So another good possibility. With the accessibility of this to the highway, I would think that might be a good spot for RVs, boondockers, you know, van life, car campers, that sort of thing to access. But you never know. But that's one thing I love about the Gaia Overland layer is it will show some dispersed campsites on there. We found a gorgeous one this past summer in Colorado from that. We were going up a trail and I happened to see those campsites on the map, and it was one of the most beautiful campsites I've ever stayed at. So highly recommend that. Let's see, we're going to come down here. Let's go back over to this area because I'm not done here. Let's turn up here. So we're coming along here on this this trail, and there's this little circle thing that's here next to the creek. So I'm real curious what that is. So it comes up here. I mean, okay, there's a campsite right there, right off the, I'm assuming that's just main dirt road, but that's definitely a campsite there. And further up here, that looks like a campsite. Oh, boom, there's another firing right there. Can't tell there. Ooh, there's that stream. There may be one up here too. So I'm going to I'm gonna add a waypoint and mark it and just give it a name. Multiple camps, because we know that there's at least 2, probably 3 in that on that little stretch. That would be a great find. Going up here, that looks like it may end in a hiking trail or something. At least an old roadbed. All right, so we've got another tank, another basin. Ooh, all right, so here's the main trail. Then you see this little one that comes back up here toward these trees. I would bet money that there's a clearing there to camp right here, because you see the path that's there. So I bet you anything there's a campsite right in there. And then this is where that trail ends. I don't know. Good possibility there's a clearing here in these trees as well. So I'm gonna, So I'm gonna mark both of those. So save that. Possible camp. And then I know it was right here in this area, so I'm just gonna click right there and or drag that over right there. Possible camp. There we go. Oh, didn't change my icon. Edit icon. There we go. So, you know, we're gonna go explore, and we've got quite a few campsites marked along the way. I'm gonna keep going and keep following a route and see what else I can find. I know Brad's doing the same thing, so he may find stuff that I haven't. So between the two of us and my other resources of Lifestyle Overland's Patreon, Venture Forward's Patreon. After all this, I'm going to have a bunch in these areas, so you can check out my Patreon after I'm done with this trip and see what we found. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is legit how I do it. I just wanted to set the camera up and film me doing it for our upcoming trip, and hopefully teach you how to do this. There's no magic book that has, or no magic map that just, boom, has all the dispersed campsites. You got to actually find them, and those are always going to be the best ones. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, check, to see these upcoming adventures, see how well we did on the campsites in New Mexico, see how that trip went with Brad and Regina, and check out the Patreon link, because everything that I find is going to be available to our Patreon subscribers, both the waypoints and the routes that we do. And for Ozark Overland Adventures merchandise, go to shopoverlandapparel.com. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.